Hey guys, today we're going to be going through ankle mobility. Having flexible ankles is so important for everything. If you want to be squatting, doing weird movements like the shrimp squat, or just going for a run, having the ability to drive your knee over your foot, which is called ankle dorsiflexion, it's so important to help the chain higher up. It helps your hip, it helps your back, it helps even load your core muscles. So today I'm going to be going through 3 exercises to help mobilize your ankles. Before we get into it, I need to go through a little bit of terminology so that you can pay attention to really what your foot and ankle is doing. Our foot and ankle has a few different planes of motion. So our foot can roll inwards, this is called pronation, and our foot can roll outwards, and this is called supination. When we're focusing on dorsiflexion, most of us are going to need to focus on dorsiflexion in neutral position, or if anything with a little bit of supination. So the way to think about that is I'm just driving my knee over my little toe. For most people, if you're limited in dorsiflexion, the cheat is that your foot will roll in. Now this can be bad because it can lead to things like bunions, it can lead to things like inside knee problems, it can even cause back and hip problems. So for most people, you're going to need to focus on really not letting your knee drop in when you're doing exercises, but you want your knee to be neutral, or if anything, slightly to the outside. The one group of people that might not need to do this are people with naturally very high arches, and that for them, their problem is that they actually can't pronate as much. So if you've got a rigid foot, you may actually need to practice driving that knee in and collapsing that arch if you've got a rigid high arch. First up, we need to really loosen the calf muscle, and my favourite way to do that is to get the ball of the foot up against a post or a door frame, hold on to something with your hands so you can really pull yourself towards the frame. Now this is where we're going to try and focus on the ankle being neutral or slightly supinated. So I'm going to push my hips up, and then I imagine a torch coming out my belly button, which I'm going to turn to point over my little toe, and from here I can just drive my hips forwards and backwards. There's another thing that I'm doing which is invisible, and that's that I'm contracting these muscles at the front of the foot. So we're using the antagonists to the calf muscle by pulling. It's invisible, it's a tiny movement, but I'm trying to pull my shin into dorsiflexion with those muscles at the front of the shin. So I'm driving my hips up with the back foot, I'm twisting slightly to face the little toe and pulling as strong as I can with those antagonists, and that combination gets a really decent calf stretch at the back. Next up, I call this one the grind. It's not as pleasant as a nice stretch, but you really grind into your ankle. You don't need equipment. What you can do is just get into this kneeling position and push your body weight over this, through this shin down into your ankle. So you're trying to grind through the front of this ankle. It can feel a bit pinchy, but the more you do it, the less pinchy it gets. This is one where my foot in particular wants to drop into pronation, so I have to be super careful to twist my body weight, get that orientation so that my ankle is in neutral position when I start to push weight down. And it's another one where I'm going to contract the muscles in the front of the shin, so I'm pushing my body weight through the shin and I'm pulling my toes and top of the foot up. That's the invisible bit, you can't see I'm doing that. Now, something that can help is to get a weight and really add weight to drive through. So I'm pushing all the way through this 20 kilogram kettlebell now. If I had a heavier kettlebell, I would be using it. So I'm just going to drive and grind and pull, and this one's quite good to hold for more than a minute, and gradually you just seep into more and more range of motion. This is probably the one that's had the biggest effect on my ankle dorsiflexion. Cool. Final one I call like an integrative exercise that really gets all of your foot muscles working alongside your ankle movement, and please give it a go. It's the weirdest one, but it's the best. It's called the duck walk. It requires a lot of coordination. I'll show you what I mean. Now I imagine I'm walking along a plank of wood. In fact, when I learnt this on a course called MovNat, I actually was walking along a thin plank of wood. So here I'm going to try and keep my head still without too much vertical bounce. I'm going to keep looking forwards and use my hands for balance and step through onto this imaginary plank of wood. Take the knees apart so I get nice hip exercise as well while this ankle's in dorsiflexion. Spin through, knees apart, and then nice and balanced, just take it through as many steps as I feel I need to open up the hips and the ankles. So guys, I hope you found that helpful. If you did, give it a little thumbs up below. One of the things we've been talking about today is how important ankle flexibility is for other human movements, for example, like running. But if you're a runner, you also need to be strong. So up here is my video for my favorite exercises, strength exercises for runners. So give that a watch, and until next time, have a healthy week.